Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Yeah.
This is where we take the things you're curious about, the sources you send our way,
Yeah.
and really boil them down into the knowledge that actually matters.
Yeah, we try to get right to the core.
And you sent us something that, well, I think it hits home for pretty much everyone. It's Sarah Knight's book, Calm the Feck Down.
Oh, yeah.
And, I mean, who hasn't needed to hear that advice at some point?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, for anyone whose brain kind of treats what if like its personal theme song, this book is, it's a really direct guide. And pretty funny, too.
Definitely funny.
To taking back some of that, mental real estate. So our mission today really is to dig into those nagging what-if questions, the ones that just set up shop in your head rent-free.
Tell me about it.
And pull out some practical, no-nonsense ways to actually deal with them.
Right. And Knight, she really cuts through the usual fluff with this pretty direct two-step plan. It's basically calm the feck down.
Step one.
And step two, deal with it. Seems almost too simple on the surface, maybe.
It does, but yeah.
But as we get into it, you'll see there's a surprising amount of practical wisdom packed into that straightforward advice. Okay, so let's unpack this. The book kicks off by showing just how common this whole what-if game is that we play with ourselves.
It's so true, isn't it? And the examples she uses, they really paint a picture of just the sheer range of worries we have.
Right.
You've got maybe the smaller stuff, like, okay, your period showing up on a first date. Awkward, yeah, but probably not, world-ending.
Right. Embarrassing, maybe.
Then it swings way over to the really heavy stuff.
Yeah.
The kind of what if that involves, losing someone you love.
Yeah.
And then there's everything in between. All those things that could go wrong, from totally bombing your dissertation defense to this incredibly specific fear about the landing gear failing on a flight, specifically to Milwaukee.
Milwaukee, really? Okay. And you can't forget the what if Z doesn't turn out as expected stuff. That's where you find job interview nerves.
Yeah.
Right next to this amazing example she gives of someone apparently still carrying the, quote, 4,000-pound shame.
Oh, my God, I remember this.
Of not betting on the royal baby being named Gary.
Gary, it's just perfect.
It really sticks with you, that one.
But what's interesting is the actual details of the worry, they almost don't matter as much.
Right.
The real issue is the mental space they take up, that energy we're pouring into these, projections. The book calls it an unraveling metaphorical sweater bit by bit.
That's a good image.
It's that constant kind of low-level drain on your mental resources. It really adds up. So the takeaway isn't necessarily what specific thing you're worrying about.
Yeah.
It's more about this fundamental human thing of projecting into the future, into the unknown, and the mental tax that comes with it.
Exactly. And it turns out the actual act of worrying, it's got this sort of hidden layer to it. It's not just that anxious feeling we all know.
That's right. Worrying can also mean constantly fiddling with a problem in your head. Yeah. Poking at it.
Like picking at a scab, maybe? Yeah. Or like she says, tugging at that loose thread on the sweater. You see a potential issue, and your instinct is just to keep messing with it mentally.
Oh, right. He can't leave it alone.
And often, that just makes the anxiety worse, without actually solving anything.
It's that relentless mental poking. Yeah, that really amps up the anxiety. But the book does offer some genuinely kind of reassuring ways to think about how likely these worries are to even happen.
Yes, and these are, I think, really crucial insights if you get caught in that worry loop. First off, a surprisingly big chunk of what we worry about, it's not likely to happen at all.
Really?
That much.
Yeah, think about all those wild, improbable scenarios your brain cooks up late at night. Statistically, most of them, they're going to stay just that, scenarios.
Okay, that's somewhat comforting.
And then lesson 2. Even for the worries that maybe do have a bit more possibility to them, we often have more power than we think.
How so?
We can actually take steps to prevent some problems. Or at least, find ways to soften the blow if they do happen.
Like backing up your files before a big presentation.
Exactly. That's a proactive step. Or getting travel insurance before a trip. Concrete actions can deal with a lot of our concerns.
Okay. So some stuff is unlikely. Some stuff we can actually do something about.
Yeah.
But then there's the third piece, isn't there?
Mm-hmm. The part where you just have to accept that some things are, completely out of your control.
Plain and simple.
And the book uses that great example, being locked in the steely grip of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II.
Right.
It's funny, but it makes the point, right? Some outcomes just Not up to you. You can't change the weather forecast, and you definitely couldn't go back and make them name the royal baby Gary.
No matter how much shame you feel about it.
Exactly. These are the worries you got to recognize are just beyond you. Learn what you can, maybe, but then consciously try to let them go.
Right. Now, speaking of things feeling totally out of control, the book really digs into what the author calls freakouts.
Hmm.
And she shares some very relatable personal stories there.
Oh, she does not hold back. And these stories, they really ground the concepts. She talks about this major freak out when, like, a sudden downpour completely ruined this elaborate 30th birthday picnic she'd planned for her husband, complete with a dramatic goodbye, cruel world reaction. I think we've all felt that way when a plan just totally implodes.
Totally. And she compares that feeling, hilariously, to her tendency to melt down faster than a half-pound of raclette at a bougie Brooklyn dinner party.
It's such a perfect, vivid image, isn't it, of just like total expectation meltdown.
Yes. But the tarantula stories, that's where it gets really interesting for understanding how we react and how that can change.
Right. So the first time she sees a tarantula outside their house, the reaction is pure primal fear, like burn the motherfucker down.
Understandable.
Intense, immediate fear. But her husband calmly kind of guides it away. Okay, scene 1.
And then the sequel.
Exactly. Second tarantula sighting, this time inside the house. But the reaction is different.
How so?
Less sheer panning, more like a weary, oh great, it's you again.
Huh. That's a shift.
It really shows how perspective can change, and her explanation is fascinating. She thinks she got, like, trained by all those unpredictable monsoon rains and unreliable roof guys at their new place.
Which was less predictable than Brooklyn, apparently.
Seems so. Like, the constant stream of unexpected stuff happening kind of inoculated her, made her less shocked by the unexpected tarantula guest.
Wow. So experience, even negative experience, can kind of build resilience to freakouts.
It seems like it. It really shows how our environment and our past experiences shape how we handle stress now.
Absolutely. Which leads right into this idea that freaking out isn't just one single thing. The book breaks it down into the 4 phases of freaking out.
Exactly. First one is the housefly, which is just perfect for describing overthinking, right? That mental buzzing, flitting from one worry to the next, totally unproductive.
The antithesis of productivity, yeah.
And the advice is classic night, Miyagi that shit. Meaning, focus. Concentrate your energy on one problem at a time. Don't just let your thoughts buzz all over the place.
Wax on, wax off the worry. Okay. Phase number 2.
The landfill. Now, this isn't clinical depression. She's clear about that. It's more that general feeling of being down, but kind of for no reason.
I know that feeling.
She compares it to feeling like you're being stalked by a hidden tarantula.
Okay, creepy.
Right. The point is you need to dig down and figure out what the real issue is instead of just letting everything feel like this vague, looming threat.
Oh, and she mentions spritz o'clock as a cherished time.
Spritz o'clock. I like the sound of that. What's phase 3?
The volcano. This one's pretty straightforward. Anger.
Right. Exploding.
The book mentions the usual unhealthy side effects, blood pressure, all that. But she also admits, very candidly, that her tendency is often to skip the big explosion and go straight to getting even. Huh? Okay, well, points for honesty, I guess. Maybe not the best coping strategy.
Probably not recommended, no. But honest. And finally, phase 4 is the ostrich.
Head in the sand.
Exactly. Avoidance. Ignoring problems, hoping they'll just magically go away. But the book points out, the hidden costs. All the time and energy you waste pretending everything is fine just fine.
Yeah, the pretending takes work.
It really does. And all this freaking out, no matter which face it wears, it draws on our resources, which the book calls freakout funds, or FFs.
FFs. Okay. What are those exactly?
It's your time, your energy, and your money. Think of it like a budget for your emotional reactions, and it's finite.
Right. Got it. And unproductive worrying, the kind that just spins wheels and doesn't solve anything.
Total drain. Yeah. It just eats up your FX without giving you anything useful back. It's like throwing good money after bad, emotionally speaking.
Makes sense. Are there examples of, misusing FFs?
Oh, yeah, plenty. Like, say you're panicked about failing the bar exam, so you go stress shopping.
Retail therapy.
Right. But it doesn't actually help you study, and it drains your money fund. Or, getting furious with customer service on the phone, and then in a rage, you smash your own phone.
Whoops. Created a new problem.
Exactly. You've wasted energy, maybe time, and now you need a new phone. Bad FF management.
Okay. Time, energy, money. Got it. Is that all?
Well, there's a fourth fund she mentions. Goodwill.
Goodwill.
Yeah.
Like from other people.
Yeah. The empathy, the support you get from friends, family, colleagues. But if you're constantly freaking out, constantly drawing on that goodwill.
People get tired of it.
Exactly. You risk the boy who cried shark situation.
Yeah.
Eventually people might just tune you out or stop taking your emergencies seriously.
That's a tough one.
And this leads to a pretty direct point from the author, a hot take, she calls it,
I'll go.
suggesting that people who deal with frequent anxiety still need to take some personal responsibility. You can't just expect a lifetime credit from the bank of goodwill.
Wow.
The analogy she uses is blunt. Chronic diarrhea affecting relationships.
Oof. Okay. Getting the point.
It's definitely tough love, but the idea is that unresolved chronic freaking out does impact the people around you, and you have some responsibility there.
Right. It's a two-way street, even with support.
Yeah.
So, okay. The core of this whole no worries method, like we said, is mental decluttering.
Exactly. Tidying up the chaos inside your head that fuels the anxiety.
It's not about organizing your closet then.
Not primarily, no. Although she does say that physical benefits, like fewer panic attacks, can be a nice, snazzy byproduct of getting your mental house in order.
A bonus. Okay.
But the real work is internal.
So how do we do that internal decluttering? Is there a tool?
There is, and it has a fantastic name, the Probometer, or alternatively, the Serenite Shitstorm Scale.
Huh. Love it. What is it?
It's basically a way to gauge how likely your worries actually are to happen, to bring some logic into the emotional storm.
Okay, a reality check.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It has 5 categories: highly unlikely, possible, but not likely, likely, highly likely, and inevitable. And the key thing, she really stresses this, is that it's about probability, not severity.
Right. So something highly unlikely could still be really, really bad if it did happen.
Precisely. The skiing example she uses makes this super clear.
Okay, tell me.
For someone like her, who maybe doesn't ski, the probability of breaking a leg skiing is highly unlikely. Right.
Makes sense.
But for, say, an Olympic skier like Alberto Tomba, well, on any single rut, it's probably still unlikely because he's incredibly skilled. But given how much and how intensely he skis, it's definitely more in the possible category.
Okay. So it depends entirely on your own situation.
Yeah.
Your personal context.
Exactly. Your own weather person assessment, as she puts it.
Got it. So the first step to using this, it's Probometer, is you actually have to know what you're worrying about.
Right. You need your list. The book encourages you, the listener, to actually sit down and make your own list of shit that hasn't happened yet.
Just writing it down can help, huh?
Definitely. Getting it out of your head onto paper, it externalizes it, makes it feel a bit more manageable somehow. She shares one of her own examples. I get into a car accident on the winding mountain road to the airport.
And where does that land on the Probometer for her?
Category 2, a possible, but not likely.
Okay. And why? What's the thinking?
Well, she admits she's a nervous passenger, and yeah, she's seen accidents happen, so it's possible.
Sure.
But it's not something that happens every time she's in a car, or even frequently, so it's not likely for her specifically on that trip. It shows how your gut feeling, your anxiety level, might not match the actual statistical probability.
That's a really important distinction. Our feelings aren't always rational indicators of likelihood.
Exactly. And she mentions that for her, most of her what-ifs actually fall into Category 1, highly unlikely, and Category 2, possible, but not likely.
And that's probably true for a lot of us, if we're honest.
Probably. And just realizing that can actually dial down the anxiety quite a bit.
Okay, so you've got your list. You've rated the probability.
Right.
What next? Does it matter if the worry feels like it's about to happen now versus sometime way off?
Yes, absolutely. The book distinguishes between imminent shitstorms and total ones.
Imminent versus total.
Okay, an imminent shitstorm is something that feels like it's, looming, likely to happen soon. Could be an election result you're dreading, a big deadline at work you might miss.
A tense family dinner coming up.
Exactly. These are things you need to prepare for relatively soon. It allows for some planning.
Whereas a total shitstorm.
That's one that's already happening. It has hit the fan, basically.
Okay. Crisis mode.
Right. And the distinction matters because a total shitstorm requires immediate action. Triage. Problem solving now.
Which brings us, I think, to the absolute core question of the whole method.
The absolute center. Yes. Can I control it?
That's the deciding question for any worry you have.
It really is, because the answer dictates what you do next. If the answer is a clear no, like you have zero influence,
Then what?
then the ideal move, the calm the feck down part, is to accept that lack of control and try to consciously discard the worry. Why waste FFs on something you can't change?
Makes logically sense. What if the answer is yes?
If it's yes, I can control this, then great. You move straight to step 2, deal with it. Start making a plan, take action.
Okay. No, let it go. Yes, deal with it. Seems binary. But is there a middle ground?
Ah, yes. The very common, very frustrating middle ground, where the answer is kind of, well, no, I can't completely control it, but I also can't stop worrying about it.
Been there. So what do you do then?
This is where PHEW comes in. PHEW.
Like relief.
Kind of. It stands for productive, helpful, effective worrying.
Okay, intriguing. Worrying can be productive.
In this specific sense, yes. It means taking action that's directly related to the source of the worry, even if that action doesn't guarantee you full control or a perfect outcome. It's about channeling that nervous energy into something useful.
Can you give an example?
Sure. The book uses the example of worrying about aging parents. You can't control aging, right? But you can research assisted living facilities in their area. That's PHEW. You're taking productive action related to the worry, making yourself feel more prepared, even though you don't control the ultimate situation.
Ah, okay. So it's about doing what you can do, even if it's not everything.
Exactly. Other examples are like researching anniversary gift ideas if you're worried about finding the right one, or buying Dramamine before a boat trip if you're worried about seasickness. Action related to the worry.
Got it. PHEW. Productive, helpful, effective worrying. But what about those worries that are just out there? The ones you really can't control, or the ones that are super unlikely or way off in the future?
For those, the book really hammers home the need to accept reality. It argues that a lot of our big freakouts happen because we're resisting what is.
We don't want it to be true.
Right. And the key insight is that those what-ifs floating around in your head, they aren't actual real problems yet, not until they actually happen.
So worrying about them before they happen is
Often a massive waste of FFs.
Yeah.
So for those really unlikely or uncontrollable or distant worries, the book gives some pretty blunt advice. Option 1, just fucking let it go.
Easier said than done, maybe.
Oh, for sure. It takes practice. It's about recognizing when your mind is going down that useless worry rabbit hole and consciously choosing to step off the path.
Okay, but how? If you're stuck in that anxious loop, how do you just let it go?
Right. That's where she introduces techniques for sleight of mind.
Sleight of mind, like a magic trick.
Sort of. It's about practical ways to redirect your focus when those anxious thoughts take hold. Mental spacers, she calls them.
Spacers. Okay, like what?
Could be super simple things, like deliberately focusing on choosing your drink at a bar, or concentrating on the physical sensation of taking slow, deep breaths.
Grounding techniques, kinda.
Exactly. Or treating getting enough sleep like a major accomplishment you need to focus on, doing some yoga, even just mentally counting backwards from 100 slowly. Anything to intentionally shift your attention away from the worry spiral right then and there.
Distraction, but like mindful distraction.
That's a good way to put it. Intentional redirection.
Okay. Now, sometimes it's not just worry or anxiety, right? Sometimes you're just sad. Things are genuinely bad.
Absolutely. And the book makes a clear distinction there. Sadness, or hurting, as she puts it, needs a different approach. It needs healing.
Not fixing.
Right. It needs time. You have to grant yourself permission to just be sad for a while without feeling like you immediately have to snap out of it.
That's important.
But she also cautions against getting stuck in prolonged wallowing. So practicing self-care becomes important then.
And how does she define self-care in this context?
Well, she definitely brings up the old classic, laughter is the best medicine.
Can't argue with that.
Actively seek out things you know make you laugh or feel good, silly cat pictures online, rewatching your favorite feel-good movie, whatever works for you.
Find your joy triggers.
Exactly. And another straightforward one, work it out.
Exercise.
Yep. Just acknowledging that moving your body is a pretty reliable way to boost serotonin and shift your mental state. Sometimes a physical change makes a big difference.
True. What about the ostriches among us? The avoiders.
Ah, the ostriches. Well, the message there is pretty clear. Avoidance doesn't work long term.
Doesn't make problems go away.
Nope. And it actually costs you FFs because you're spending all that energy on pretending and denial. The advice is to try and confront the fear that's driving the avoidance. What are you really afraid will happen if you face the problem?
Okay. Face the fear. Now, what about when the shitstorm isn't imminent? It's total. It's happening right now. What then?
Okay, total shitstorm mode. The book gives a framework. Triage and identify your RIO.
RIO.
Realistic ideal outcome.
Okay, break that down. Triage first.
Triage is just like in an ER. When everything's going wrong at once, you have to prioritize. What needs attention right now? What's the most urgent thing? You can't fix everything simultaneously.
Makes sense. Assess the damage, figure out the biggest bleeders.
Exactly. And then RIO, realistic ideal outcome. This is key when a perfect fix just isn't possible. What's the best achievable result given the current mess?
So not necessarily making everything perfect again, but finding the best path forward from here.
Precisely. The example used is getting failing grades in a class. The ideal outcome might feel like magically getting an A, but the realistic ideal outcome might be withdrawing from the class to save your overall GPA.
Got it. Adjusting expectations to reality.
And that leads to another really important theme, flexibility. The book encourages us to think like a logic cat.
Logic cat. Is that related to the tarantulas?
No, this time is her actual cat, Gladys. The point is that cats are pretty adaptable. If their usual dinner spot is blocked, they don't usually have a meltdown. They just find another way, or meow until you fix it.
Okay, be more cat, be flexible.
Right. Train yourself to focus on, okay, now what? Instead of getting stuck on why did this happen or whose fault is this?
Focus on solutions, not blame.
Exactly. Like if your presentation slides are missing because someone left the laptop in the taxi, freaking out about who messed up doesn't help right now. The priority is finding a backup or figuring out how to present without them. Okay, now what?
That's a practical mindset shift.
And the book runs through a whole bunch of really specific shitstorm scenarios, which is super helpful.
Oh, yeah? Like what?
All sorts. Like, guests are coming over and your house is a total disaster.
Relatable.
The RIO, there isn't a sparkling clean house in 10 minutes. It's maybe just a good first impression. So triage means clean the guest bathroom first, shove clutter into a closet.
Strategic tidying, okay.
Or your boss yelled at you unfairly. What do? Assess. Did you actually mess up? Is your boss the type to cool down and maybe apologize? Or do you need to think about HR or even leaving?
Different paths depending on the situation.
Right. The printer's not working right before a deadline. RIO, get the document printed. Triage, find another printer. Don't fight the machine.
Find a workaround.
Drank way too much at the office party. RIO, minimize damage. Triage. Pretend nothing happened. Usually works.
Feign ignorance. Got it.
Then there's tedious shit like mid-level annoying stuff. Car got towed because of an unpaid ticket you ignored.
Don't be an ostrich.
Exactly. Deal with it now before it gets worse. That requires conserved FFs. Girlfriend says you're bad in bed. Kind of a binary choice there. Break up or work on improving.
Ouch. Direct.
Broke a bone. RIO. Heal properly. Triage. Get medical help. Adjust plans. Her husband broke his collarbone, apparently lived on Eggos for a bit. You adapt.
Adapt and overcome. With Eggos.
Dropped your cheeseburger while rear-ending someone? RIO. Handle the insurance stuff responsibly. Triage. Deal with the accident first, more on the burger later.
Priorities.
Severely limited diet due to health reasons. The book acknowledges it sucks, validates the feeling, but then says, okay, take a logical look at what you can eat.
Acknowledge emotion, then apply logic.
Getting divorced. Focus on what you can control, your actions, your finances maybe, and your RIO for the settlement or custody. Trying and failing to conceive. Acknowledge the pain, take stock, consider all options logically. France ran out of butter. Stay vigilant.
A global crisis.
Termites. Go straight into the deal with it zone. Get the exterminator. It shows how the method applies across this huge range of problems, big and small.
It really does. Okay, but what about the biggest what if? The one we probably all avoid thinking about.
The mother of tarantulas. Death.
Yeah. How does the book handle anxiety about dying?
It tackles it very directly, and it makes a really crucial distinction. There's the anxiety about the prospect of death, that's a what-if, shit that hasn't happened yet. And then there's the devastating reality of death when it does happen to someone you love, that's shit that has already happened. Very different things.
Okay, that's an important separation.
It acknowledges that deep sense of injustice that often comes with grief. And interestingly, it points out that even the practical stuff you have to do when someone dies, funerals, paperwork can actually serve as a kind of sleight of mind.
How so?
It gives you immediate tasks to focus on during a time of just overwhelming emotion. It channels some energy.
A forced dealing with it, in a way.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
And finally, just to mention, The book has these cool interactive bits near the end, like a choose your own adventure for freakouts.
Oh, right.
Yeah, using a scenario like lost luggage, it shows how different initial reactions like getting angry versus trying to laugh it off versus just avoiding dealing with it lead down different paths. It really highlights how your emotional state during the freakout affects the outcome.
Interesting. Shows the impact of those four phases in action.
Exactly. So, okay, bringing this all together, wrapping up this deep dive, the core lessons from Calm the Fuck Down really seem to be, hey, worrying is normal, it's human,
We all do it.
but you have more power than you might think to manage it. The key is learning to tell the difference between what you can control and what you can't.
And being smart about your resources, those freak out funds.
Yes, don't waste time, energy, money, or goodwill on unproductive worry. And arm yourself with those practical tools. The probometer to check likelihood, PHEW, for taking useful action.
And knowing how to find your RIO, your realistic ideal outcome when things go wrong.
It all comes back to that simple but not always easy two-step process. Calm the fuck down.
Deep breath.
And then deal with it. Take action where you can.
So for you listening, maybe take a minute after this. Look at your own list of what-ifs through this lens. Rate them on the probometer. Ask yourself, can I control this? Can I do some PHEW?
And maybe notice, what's your usual go-to face when you start to freak out? Are you a housefly? A volcano? An ostrich? Just knowing that can be helpful.
Definitely. And maybe a final thought to leave you with.
Yeah.
What tarantulas? Big or small? Metaphorical? Or maybe even literal for some listeners?
Hopefully not literal.
Hopefully not. But what tarantulas are taking up space in your head right now? And just think, what's one small manageable step, one little deal with it action you could take today to address just one of them?
Even a tiny step can make a difference in starting to clear out that mental clutter. It might just be the start of reclaiming some calm.